All right, this is gonna be just a video log of, this is just gonna be like a documentation of our journey through perfect pitch, living with kids with perfect pitch, being a musician myself without perfect pitch, and an instructor musician that doesn't have perfect pitch but has kids with perfect pitch. It's a bit of a weird situation. So first let's introduce ourselves. So I'm Tom Rodriguez. I wrote Unlock Your Lute. It's a book that I use. It's basically a compilation of how it is that I instruct all of my students and have instructed my students for years, but instead of having to write out a bunch of handwritten, squiggly notes on notebook paper, I just compiled everything and made it into more of a textbook format. I played professionally, mostly through church circuit stuff. Before that, prior playing with local bands, more secular stuff. When I came to South Carolina, it's predominantly just mostly teaching, songwriting, and the sort. This is my son. This is Brighton Rodriguez, and he is my teaching assistant. And then he also is in some of the demo tutorials that you'll see on YouTube. This is Rocket. He is our camera guy, and he also has had some cameos in the background, but because of limited space, he's not in any of the recordings yet. However, because of the fact that he possibly has perfect pitch, I thought it would be a really good documentation to do starting from the beginning and seeing if he does, and if he does, how to develop it, and then documenting how to be able to train kids with perfect pitch and what to do with that. So where this all started, I was teaching a student. The student was playing and something didn't sound right. And when he was playing, I said, okay, real quick, I think you might be out of tune. Can you hit all your strings? And Brighton was in the same studio, but he was just behind the student. So here I am, the student's right here, and then Brighton's behind that student. He can't see anything that's going on, and Brighton just says, oh, the G string is sharp, or G string is flat, or something like that. And I was like, wait, what? Like, how do you... And then he went to go tune his guitar, and lo and behold, that string was specifically flat. And I said, what was it? What was the note that was flat? Because I was like, I kind of got that little, wait a minute, does he have perfect pitch? He's like, oh, it was this. He said the note. I was like, what? That's crazy. So I said, Brighton, what's this note? And I, picked up the guitar. I kind of did one of these guys right here. I said, hold on one second. I'll actually do... I said, Brighton, what's this note? And then you said what?
B.
That's B, 7th fret high E. And then I just started running through the notes. Knows that?
G sharp.
G sharp, that's right. That right there. There is the 9th fret of the B. And then went through a few others.
C?
Yep, that's C. That is the 10th fret of the D string, which is a C note. So we did that, and that's when I realized that my son had perfect pitch. Super jealous, being a musician myself. I don't have perfect pitch. I have a pretty good relative pitch, but nowhere near that level at all of being able to know my notes. So that was really, really cool. So anyways, I've been developing him and trying to help him to be able to understand his gifting and what that means. And I think that some of the issues that we have really is that knowing the note versus knowing how the note functions within the scale is is your biggest struggle, because it's not understanding the totality of the note and how it fits within the theory behind things. That's your biggest issue, right?
Yeah,
so,
I'm not really good with theory.
Yeah, so we're working on that, and we're trying to marry the gift, naturally born gift of perfect pitch with relative pitch, and understanding kind of how things link up and relate to each other, not only between the notes themselves, but also within the key and the chords that you're playing and stuff. Now, this is Rocket Rodriguez. Okay, this is my second oldest son, and it has come to our attention that we think he does have it. So how did we come to that conclusion?
I guessed the note correctly, I think.
Guessing the note correctly. So what was the example that we had?
DQ Palace?
DQ Palace.
He would remember the first note in a song, and then I would tell him what the note is so that he knows what that note is in his head from then on.
So he basically is able to sing the note. So what is the first note of Decupalis?
E.
And can you sing that note?
Do.
And so there you have somebody who knows the note. Now, here's the interesting part. Perfect pitch, to my understanding, is something that you're born with. It's not something that you can learn. It's something that you have to be born with it. However, the concept of developing perfect pitch is something that is a real thing. So you can have the gift, but not necessarily really develop it. A good example of that would be if you're not a musician, you don't necessarily know the notes' names. You can be able to hear specific tones, but and be able to identify maybe, oh, that's the first note, starting note of this song, but you don't necessarily know what the note is. Brighton, why don't you walk us through your process with how you started to categorize the notes?
Well, how I did it was that first I learned to memorize the sounds of the strings.
So like E, A, D, G, B, E?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then to figure out sharps and stuff, I'd basically hum the, like to figure out an F, or no, to figure out like a G sharp, I'd hum the G note and then just bring it one semitone up. So the G note would be do, and I bring it up one semitone, which would be do.
And that's your process of how you started to identify like what the notes were and being able to recognize the note names.
Yeah.
So here's the next question. From your perspective of being able to really kind of know all these notes, is it that you have to have a kickoff note? Like, that's how you started, but is that how you've ended? Or are you able to just say, oh, G sharp, I know that note?
Well, I have been able to do like the G sharp kind of thing, like on the dot, but usually I kind of stick with, a kickoff.
So it's a kickoff.
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
So that's something that's more like a relative pitch thing. You're actually relating the next note up, even though you're able to do it, to another note that you've memorized.
Yeah.
So my question, and this is kind of our journey, is to find out, how do I say this? So is this just really, really good relative pitch, or is this perfect pitch? Or is it just different degrees of perfect pitch? Because I know some people, perfect pitch is something that can degrade over time. It's something that there are different people who have better ears at different things, like they can hear more. And the way that I would equate that out to, it's almost like colorblind, right? So there's like different levels of sight. So with sight, there's people who can't see at all, they're blind. Then there's people who are colorblind, where they see different shades of gray or even different shades of different colors. And then there's a whole wide spectrum of that. And then there's people that can see normal colors, and then there's people that actually have extra cones in their eyes and can see even more colors than most average people. They can articulate more colors than a normal person. Now, you started with all the strings, and then from there you did all the in-betweens, basically, right? I think
I started with strings, yeah, and then the in-betweens, yeah.
Now it's important to understand that like the in-betweens, are you saying that like, so say for instance, we don't have a C, right? There's no C string, but you go a semitone up from B, right?
Well, the C I kind of memorized because, I hear that note all the time, Key of C is pretty popular key, pretty popular note.
Yeah. So
I don't really kick off with that one.
Well, what about, so like F, for instance, do you kick off from E, or do you just have that memorized?
I think I have kicked off with E, yeah.
Do you still kick off with E, or is that something that you...
I think I do, yeah.
You still do?
It's hard to kind of, yeah.
Okay. There's also some things that that we've discussed, which is the concept of you get confused with some of the notes, right?
Oh, yeah.
So which notes are they that you get confused with? Like
C and F and A and D. Those are the ones I get confused with all the time.
So what is it that you think that you get confused with about them?
I don't know. You say hum an A note and I hum a D note because I'm memorizing the strings. But the strings just sound so similar, I guess, to me.
I'm wondering if this is something that's more like like you see somebody at the market and you say, "Hey, Phil," or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, it's John." You're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, John. I messed up your name." Or is it something where you like genuinely forgot the name? Like is it a mix up of identity? Or is it something where...
It's not a mix-up of a name. I'm actually getting confused.
On the notes.
Those notes, yeah.
On the notes. So you actually think a D note is...
An A note.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Is it like is it something... Okay. I see what you're saying. All right. So we're going to explore that as well, and what notes might be the notes that are confusing. So, Rocket, you've memorized the E note, is that correct?
I think I might know all the string notes.
You all know all the string notes? You want to try that real quick?
Sure.
Okay, you already did E, what's B?
I don't normally go backwards.
Okay, let's do forwards.
Do.
What is that?
Oh, that's A, I think.
That's a G.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
Do. Yeah, it's a G. Okay. What else?
A is do.
That'd be a C.
That's a C.
Maybe I don't. Never mind.
But you actually were landing on the C note, right?
He was landing on the C. What do you mean?
You said it's actually a C.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So, okay, hold on a second. Okay, so, now the next question that I have would be, all right, so then if that's the case, then our next step is to be able to go through, this resonant brand banjo's killing me. The next question I guess I would have would be kind of like, okay, so we go through the notes, so you're trying to memorize all the strings, kind of like, that's how you're kind of going off of what Brighton said that he did, right?
Well,
or is that just something
I've
you've
been
done?
doing that before he said that.
Oh, really? Okay, all right. So, you know, I'm interested as well because of the fact that the perfect pitch, like coming from, I'm sorry, if this is perfect pitch, it's something where this is coming from a guitar player's perspective. So we don't have all the notes just right up in front of us like a piano would. And you can't just go through all the notes and know exactly where to start. So some of that is you can fish around for them, and that's fine. But guitar, it's a little bit trickier. It's not as linear, if you will. It's more layered.
Yeah.
So it's that's something that we're gonna have to go with, and I think we should probably stick with maybe piano going for those notes. No, you're like, no, guitar. Do guitar better. All right, that's right. I knew you were my son. Just joking. Piano players are awesome too. I love piano.
You play piano.
I know. I was just joking because we're just surrounded by guitars.
Yeah.
And the book is called Unlock Your Lute, and the piano is not a lute. So, So what about your journey with trying to figure out these notes on these songs? I've seen you go ahead and pick up songs. You're picking up songs. I mean, Brighton's already been doing it for a while, but you're doing the same thing recently.
Like how I tab things out?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, just even the Sonic stuff that you just did recently with the Sonic Origins.
I just listen to the note and then just kind of fish around.
Try to figure it out on the guitar.
Try to figure it out. Okay. All right, so I think that the next thing that we should probably do is identify the notes and learn your fretboard visualization. So normally what I'll do is I'll take my students through knowing their chromatic scale and being able to play it. So that's the first step, and you'll get all the notes under your belt. Then after that, we need to do fretboard visualization 1. Fretboard Viz 1 is going to be dealing with all of your markers on your E, A, and D strings. From there, you take the chromatic scale and your fretboard Viz 1 and combine them, and you get the in-between notes that are on your fretboard markers. And then we do fretboard visualization 3. When we get to fretboard visualization 3, we combine an etude that I wrote, which is Octavus Prime, that deals with being able to do all the octave patterns that are on your guitar in a localized area, meaning like your caged system. You know, it's not like you're jumping linearly 12 frets or anything like that. You're not jumping linear octaves. You're going into layered octaves using the caged system. And then from there, you can back engineer your B and your G string up into your A string through your C patterns and A patterns. So, and that'll help you to be able to identify where all the notes are very quickly on the fretboard. Now, because of the fact that you have perfect pitch, let me rephrase that. If it is that you have perfect pitch, then what we'll probably do is you probably won't even need Octavus Prime. You'll just know where the notes are, which is like, man, oh, why couldn't I have been born with this gift? Or maybe I did get that gift as a baby, but I just never I just didn't. Well, not degraded, but maybe I just never developed it. You know, and I'm curious if there's anybody watching this video. At what point is it that if you are born with perfect pitch, that you lose the ability to develop perfect pitch? Or is it something that you could develop at any given age? I'm obviously sure, just like kids learning another language, it's easier younger, but is it scientifically proven? Are there any studies out there, anything like that?
Well, you sometimes deafen when you get older, so obviously you can't.
Well, no, perfect pitch does. Are you saying I'm old?
No, no, you're not.
Don't look at me. Don't even.
You're young.
You're not even.
Don't talk to me. So, well, I'm just saying that, like, I'm just messing with you. So, like, the whole concept would be like, well, just let you know, people with perfect pitch actually do their perfect pitch does drop. So yeah, they lose their perfect pitch. They start to flatten out, or they start to not be able to hear it and everything.
That's interesting. I thought it was something built in your brain.
You had it more than me, so that means you're gonna lose it first if I do have it.
No, he's just older. So
No, he's older.
Oh, maybe.
And he's had it longer.
Anyways.
Hopefully it's not true.
All right, this is Vlog 1. We're just trying to present the questions or present just the story of how this thing started and everything. Now, what we do, I teach professionally. I write etudes for students. I transcribe music. We have a transcription service on our on our website. I have a book. We do music. That is what we do for for our our income. That's what we do for a living, for a profession. And what I want to do is, I mean, like, even though I'm a music instructor, even though I'm somebody who deals professionally in music, still, this is something that I do not have that's something that I can't procure this gift. Like, I can't just do that. Like, I don't have it. Like, the other day, I started singing a song, and it was something where, like, you were like, oh yeah, that's the right song, but in the wrong key.
He said that.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just trying to say that's the whole thing. And that's the concept of really good relative pitch. You know the intervallic distances and jumps based on the melody, but you guys are able to, like, go, oh, this is the starting. That's another question. Like, if you were to start halfway through the song of Deku Palace, could you do it in the right key? Or do you, like...
Yeah, I can do it in the right key halfway.
You can do it. So if you started on the second phase...
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my key.
Which, by the way, that song is that we are gonna do that song. We actually already have it tabbed out and everything like that. So
for me, I don't understand how you can't think that way.
Well, as we've spoken in the past, and we'll talk more about this later, but I believe we were all designed. Like we're Bible believers. I believe that it's something where we were designed to never even die. And, because of the fall of man, because of death entering the world, I believe that there's a degradation of the gifts that we don't even know that we had. But anyways, the concept is that, like, what other gifts did we have? I don't know. But I can tell you that I believe that, in the same way that sound is very powerful, there's a lot of things that are attributed to sound. Even the bringing of creation into the world with... God said, let there be light, and there was light. He spoke with words. He had sound waves coming out. So I believe sound plays a huge role, and I think that we were more in tuned to those types of sounds and the things that are happening that we don't even know are happening. And that is a good testament to relative pitch. I don't hear this note, but he does. There are people in the Bible that heard from the Lord.
Other people didn't. And
other people did not. And they were like, what are you talking about? Like a dog whistle. Like the dog... hears those pitches, and the dog's like, or whatever, and the humans are like, what's gotten into him? You know what I mean? Like, it's something where there's an extra sensitivity to something, and in this case, it has to do with identifying either notes or hearing a specific tone, which is like just mind-boggling to me. Like, you guys hear the tones like people see colors, which is like really cool. So I mean, this is something that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to kind of document this, maybe a good legacy for you guys, and for anybody else that maybe is out there that has kids with perfect pitch. Maybe it could be a blessing to you guys as well. So anyways, if you have any answers to these questions that I've presented or have any information, please drop comments. If you guys have any other questions as well about perfect pitch or about how to develop perfect pitch, I do not claim to be an expert, even though I do professionally teach. I don't claim to be an expert in how to teach somebody with perfect pitch. I have taught people with perfect pitch, but that's not like my expertise.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but it's something where that's something that I don't necessarily like. That's not what I do every day, all day for a living, is teach people with perfect pitch. I just happen to be blessed with one, definitely, two, we'll see. I'm leaning towards, yeah, it's pretty crazy that you can literally like know those tones. Even if you get them mixed up, at least in the beginning, we have to develop it. You need to be able to make sure you know, no, that's red. You're like, oh, it's red. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only way I can understand it. You know, is, oh no, that's an A sharp. You know, not a C. You know, or whatever the case is. Okay.
It's blue, not green.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's just crazy to me. But anyways, this is vlog number 1. I don't know what we want to call this, but just a
Vlog, #1.
vlog hashtag.
Oh, vlog.
Yeah, vlog, video log. Yeah. We'll sit down and we'll just kind of discuss these things, and we'll go over this stuff. We'll talk about like intervallic distances and jumps and things like that, and we'll kind of do a little bit of training in front of the camera and talk about that. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Bye.